I got this little Toshiba combo DVD player, LCD TV brought in. Client says, he bought it off Craigslist. Client says the sound is not very good and the DVD player doesn't work. So it's not going to be one I'm going to spend a lot of time on, but we'll see whether we can figure out why this DVD player is not working for starters and see what else is wrong with this one. Let's check it out. So I got this little Toshiba TV in. The owner of it is complaining, has two complaints. One, that it has bad sound, and the other one is that the DVD player doesn't work. Now, to me, the sound sounds pretty normal for a TV with a small speaker, so let's check out the DVD player. I pressed the button to change inputs. The screen went blank. I tried loading a DVD. It nicely accepted my box set disc one of Get Smart. Won't play, won't eject the DVD, and now the TV is gone completely haywire. It's not ejecting the disc, it's not doing anything. It's just lost its mind. In fact, the only thing I can do is turn it on and turn it off. I turn it off, I turn it on. I get just a flash, a blue screen, and then it goes out. But nothing else works. Can't eject the disc, can't control anything, can't do anything with it. This came to me from one of my clients. He bought it used off of like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or whatever, but he bought this set used for his kitchen. And then once he got it, he found that the DVD player didn't work, and that he said the sound sounded odd, so he brought it to me to check out. And well, I'll say the sound sounds, when I ran it there just off of an analog input from the going through the tuner, I didn't try it through the HDMI, so maybe it sounds weird, but just through the analog input it sounded okay. I went to try the DVD disc and it won't play, so definitely this has got something wrong with it. I'm going to let it sit unplugged and let it cool down. It might be a heat related issue, because when I first plugged it in, it accepted the disc, it accepted a DVD-R, but it said it couldn't play it. So then I figured I would try it with a manufactured disc. And but the set has been running for probably half an hour or so while I located an actual store-bought disc. As unlike most people, I don't have too many discs. I've got I own maybe 10 DVDs and about as many Blu-ray discs, and that's it. Everything else I've got is stuff that I've recorded off of TV, which are all on DVD-R, and some of these older units cannot handle DVD-R, so I don't know whether it's a compatibility problem with the drive or whether the drive is bad. Anyway, let this thing cool down for a bit, and we'll see if I can get the disc out. Otherwise I'm going to have to take it apart just to retrieve my disc. So I've let this thing cool down for about 20 minutes. Okay, it's on video 1. Okay, well that's interesting. Video 2. PC. HDMI. So now the video input is working. And my disc ejected. And now it's gone to the DVD input. Let's just see if it'll play anything. This seems to have a heat related problem, because when it was running there it would not change inputs. Let's just see if it'll load this disc. Ah, it's playing. So it plays a stamped disc, but it would not play a burned disc when I tried it. So let's just try a burned disc again now that it's playing this one. And probably all I can play is that before I get busted. So here's my Air Show disc. Let's see if it will play a DVD-R. no disc. Disc is in there. We saw that thing blip too when it started up, which is we could have a power supply problem on this thing for all that matter goes. Definitely a disc in there. Now it's eaten this disc. We'll let this thing cool down some more and see if I can retrieve my disc. Not even bringing up the DVD function. I guess this one's coming apart. This one assembled in Mexico. So all the screws that are marked with an arrow on the back have to come out. And that should lift the back off this one. I'll bore you guys. I'll save you guys the boredom of watching me undo the screws. There was a screwing joke in there somewhere, but I think I'll leave that one out because that might be offensive. Anyway, now that all the screws have been removed, the back cover pops off to reveal a well-shielded board, because this was made back in 2005, back when TVs were considered RF emitting devices and could cause radio interference, so everything was shielded. All the interconnects have all got shielding on them, and shielded tape to hold the wires down. Crazy, huh? The new TV's got none of that. So first thing I want to check on this, I want to check the power supply here, but it's more than likely the main processor is overheating on this, which is quite a common problem on a lot of these TVs. So I'm just going to remove some wires here so that I can get these cables out of the way. I got to remove the DVD player for starters in order to get the shielding off. I got another combo unit sitting in my shop here. I don't think I'll be showing it off though, because I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it was one of these now very hard to find combos. Because most people threw them in the garbage. And apparently it has a really nice picture, although I haven't seen it, but it hasn't been used in years, which was given to me by a neighbor that was going to send it off to recycling. And I said, hey, hold that thought, don't send that off just yet, because these devices are becoming quite a hot commodity in the gaming world, the vintage gaming world. It's a Toshiba. It's a 25 or 26 inch CRT television with a DVD player and a VHS deck built in, which I thought was which is kind of cool, because you don't see too many of those around. Not today, anyway. You didn't see too many of them around back 20 years ago either, because a lot of people didn't buy the combos because they were discouraged by any reputable store that said don't buy a combo because the combo units, or the TV's going to last longer than the VCR or the DVD player, and you'll have something you can't use. So I know that the shop that I worked at, we sold the Panasonic ones, and we tried to discourage people from buying them whenever we could, just because, for that reason. So they weren't a big seller, so there wasn't a lot of them out there, and the ones that are out there, they're certainly getting kind of rare these days. So there's the DVD player on this. As you can see, it's a specialty Chinese made drive. It's not a standard computer drive like some of them used. I should be able to just eject this disc by turning some gears here, I think. It's interesting that it's there's the brand of it. It's a Shanghai Fangyuan Digital Technology. Anyway, first things first, get my disc out of the drive, however it comes out, and then we'll see if we can recreate the fault on the TV. I think one of the reasons it's showing no disc is it didn't load correctly, because it's not spinning freely. There's something causing the disc to stick. So I think it's just probably not loaded correctly, and that has caused the failure. Why it won't read this disc, or why it won't attempt to eject it, because it thinks that there's no disc in it. So likely a switch that's not registering correctly. I believe these wires here go to the loading mechanism, so if I put some DC voltage on these wires, I should be able to force the mechanism to open the disc lock. There's like little pins that lock the disc in, and allow the mechanism to eject the disc. I'm just going to turn my power supply on here and set the voltage down to maybe 2 or 3 volts, because it's not going to take much power to operate that motor, and see if I can force the disc out this way. I don't know which is positive and which is, well, I know which is positive and which is negative, but I don't know which way the power has to go through this thing. I'm just going to limit the current on my meter here to maybe, or my power supply to maybe half an amp. So short the leads together and 500 milliamps or so. That should be enough, I think, to operate the mechanism. Maybe not. There we go. So now the disc is out. So basically I just put the positive on the black wire and the negative on the red wire, and that was run the motor in the reverse direction, which of course ejects the disc. So that's the disc out. So if you've got one of these units, you need to take a disc out. That's what you got to do to take them out. You got to go to that trouble to take out the discs. Now I don't know what this is here, whether this is a little switch here or not. It's a little circuit board, but I don't know what else is on here. This may be the sensor for the disc to detect that there's disc. There's a lot of dust in there, so I might want to start by just blowing the dust out of this slot here at least, because there's a fair bit of dust I can see down in here. So I'm just going to take my air compressor and just blow the dust out of this thing for starters. First, let's take a look at the power supply. We'll just take the shielding off here for the power supply. Give the power supply a little look and see if I see any noticeable bulging caps. That doesn't mean that there's not some that are bad, but if there's any bulging caps, that's certainly a dead giveaway that they're certainly bad. It might be the processor. These Toshibas have an issue with overheating of the processor, and the way that this thing was behaving, where I could not change inputs once it was hot, but then once it cooled down I was able to change inputs again, kind of points to maybe something on the main board. Next step will be to remove the shield around the main board. If you guys wonder why I had a big magnet stuck to the side and taped in place, it's because the screwdriver itself is not magnetic. It will not pick up. It will not pick up screws. But if I stick a magnet to the side of it, it will. That's why that's there, for anybody that wonders. Oh, one more. It's always that one last screw that's hidden, right? See, that's why the magnet, so that I can lift screws out with this thing. Otherwise, they'd just drop. Okay, now that the shielding is removed, here's the main board. Interesting. I don't see any heat sinks on any of these chips. Interesting. See, here's where the LDVS connection is. This is going to the timing controller board. I don't know. I think it's just a T-Con board under here. I think that is it. That's the whole set is right there. There's a T-Con board in here somewhere. Up here, I believe, underneath that shield, there's a T-Con board. But that's not going to cause my problem with my input switching. And it certainly would not cause a problem with the sound if the sound is going garbled. That's going to be something on this main board here. So I was thinking an overheating problem due to one of the chips getting excessively hot. But I don't see any chips that have any type of heat sink on them, which would indicate that these chips shouldn't be generating that type of heat that's going to cause a problem. I mean, this is not a very high-end set. I don't even think this isn't even a high-definition TV, I don't think. It might be a 720 fed with HDMI or VGA, but it does not have a digital tuner or anything in it, and of course it's got the DVD player, which is only standard definition. So I don't know that this is even an HD set. It may be just a standard definition TV and scale everything down to SD. I don't know what the panel resolution is, but I doubt that it's any more than 720 at the very most. Look at my beautiful burned screen. Look at that. You can see the keyboard burned into the bottom of my screen. You can see the home buttons and stuff. What a joke. This phone's 2 years old and the screen is foobarred. Resolution 1366 by 768. So it is a 720p format panel. So it is HD, but barely. Contrast ratio is only 550 to 1. So it's not a real high performer. And it's classified as a VGA input for the PC. It's just an LCD TV. It's not, again, it's nothing to write home about. But it will deliver an acceptable picture, and for playing DVDs, something like this would be more than acceptable. But that would certainly explain why it doesn't have, super heavy-duty heat sinks on the video processors, because these ones here, only processing a 720 signal, aren't going to generate enough heat to warrant having a heat sink, whereas the 1080 sets, the 1080p sets, and the 4K sets, there's a lot of processing going on, especially when you're scaling up video from a lower resolution, that generates a lot of heat. So on those televisions, the heat sink is generally mounted directly to the processor. Doesn't mean it's not a heat problem, and that the lack of a heat sink is not what caused a problem, but what I'm going to have to do on this set is I'm just going to have to run it. I'm going to reconnect the DVD player just because it probably won't power up with it not connected, so I'm just going to kind of set it in here. I don't even know if I can because of the way things are mounted, but I'm going to try power this thing up and just see whether it'll fault with the back off it, and try and track down where it is. It could very well be a power supply problem. It could be an ESR issue on one of these caps that's going bad, and I could certainly test them without a problem. It is loaded with these stupid surface mounted capacitors too, which, as we know, these surface mounted caps give us many headaches. But I would expect that to impair the picture, and the picture on it looks fine when it runs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prop the TV up just against my scope, because it's nice and heavy and it's not going anywhere. Great, there goes the lawnmower. Prop the TV up against the scope and fire it up and hook it up and just see whether I can recreate the fault. So let's turn this thing on and observe what it does. First thing I'll try is the DVD player. I'll put my disc back in here and see whether it will actually accept it this time, or whether it, oh, it says loading, but it's not spinning the disc. Oh, now it's spinning the disc. Is it actually going to play this DVD-R this time, just after blowing the dust out of it? It's loading it, but it's not reading it yet. But we'll see. It says unknown disk error. Now this may be just that this cannot read DVD-R, because this is from 2005 and recordable DVDs were not that popular back in 2005. I'll try a different brand of, this is a verbatim. I'm sure I've got some discs recorded on different media. We'll try a different DVD-R, but it may be that this drive is just too old to read any recorded media, because again, 2005 DVD-R were out. They came out in around, I think it was 2002, 2003 when DVD recorders first hit the store shelves. But if I put in this stamped disc, it will probably play it fine, because it did before. So I would imagine that when I put in this Get Smart disc, it's going to play it just fine. And it does. The warning has come up on the screen now, and when the show starts, you should hear the sound. There you go. And there it is. To say the picture's actually very good. I think I can probably get away with the menu without having to worry about anything. This is one of the few discs that I bought. Get Smart Season 1. The whole season. When I was a kid, I loved this show. Like, this is the mid 60s. You know, I think it was 65, 66. I remember watching this show when I was a kid and just literally pissing myself. I was laughing so hard. I didn't understand the innuendos in it at the time. I just thought it was a funny show. And so I got the first season when it came out on DVD, and I laughed my ass off all the way through it the second time too.
25 for tomorrow. Along the island, closer to the water, low 20s. Inland today, we'll get into the mid-20s. Metro Vancouver, so with the Humidex feeling like 27 away from the water. Tomorrow, 26 degrees, so many spots feeling closer to 30 degrees. Monday, Tuesday, fantastic. Some clouds rolling in on Wednesday. And a slight chance for an isolated shower on Thursday.
To me, the sound sounds pretty normal on this TV. I mean, it's got 1" by 2" speakers. What do you expect? But sounds pretty good to me.
Someone you love has trouble getting around.
I don't hear anything wrong.
Park is no walk in the park.
So, checking the temperature of these chips, they are quite warm. You know, they are hot. They're not scorching hot, but they are certainly very warm to the touch, especially this one. How about this one over here? And that one's not too bad. This one here is really quite warm. So it might be a chip problem that caused this thing to lock up, although it's not certainly not doing that now. Everything's working on it now. But again, I've got the shields off. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to put the covers, I'm going to put the shield back on. I'm going to check these caps here for ESR. We'll go through them and see if any of these ones in the secondary are showing any signs of high ESR, because that certainly could cause some problems. It could be heat, could be from all the shielding on here that's causing it to overheat, or it could be loose ground screws, although I haven't tested them yet. I know that the DVD player had an issue before where it wouldn't release the disc. I had to take the disc out. I could clean some of the switches on here that detect when there's a disc present. But other than that, I don't know what else I can do on this, because the stupid thing is working at this point. We'll start by removing the power supply. Undo the plugs. Now the caps, caps that are of particular interest to me are these ones in the secondary. These other ones over here, these are just in the lamp power supply, so I'm not so concerned about them because, again, they're only for the lights. I think these are only for the lights. They're 24 volts. These two diodes here off this secondary from this transformer goes through these diodes here, and they are feeding this direction over here. Oh, wait a minute. This 24 volt supply is off of this one. So this main transformer is feeding both. This is probably the standby transformer to power the standby circuit. Looking at it. Yeah, this is all on the hot side. This is likely power factor correction in here. So here's our two transformers. This is going to be for the standby circuit, and this one's the main transformer that powers everything. Powers the set and powers the lights. Here are the two rectifiers for that. These filters on this side are for the the backlights, looks like, and these ones over here will be the ones for the set. So let's grab the ESR meter and just start going through and see if any of these have readings that are any concern. I'm just measuring these in circuit to see how they look, but so far 0.13, 0.29, these are all pretty good. 0.12, over to this side, those are the sides on the lights. 0.14, 0.11, 0.11, 0.12, 0.15. These are all looking okay. 0.54. What value is this? This one is a 470 at 10. 470 10. 0.24. And it's measuring 0.54. This one might be a little bit high. That one there. Yeah, that one may be a little bit up. But the other ones are all looking to be, very good. 1.0. That one might be going up a bit too. What is it? 50 volts at 47. Yeah, it should be a little less than 1 ohm. So it should be 0.6, between 0.68 and 0.56. So that one might be a little bit up. I don't think that that's going to cause the issue, though, to tell you the truth. What about this one here? 0.13. 0.1. Yeah, I can't say that that these couple little caps here are going to be causing an issue, because they're not high. Like they're a little bit off what a new one would be expected to read, but they're not really high. So I don't think changing them is going to make any difference whatsoever, and I'm not going to for that reason. I think as far as the DVD player goes on this, more likely the problem is these switches, which are right here under this circuit board. There's two little pin switches. You can see them right here. I think that's probably more problematic for it detecting that there was no disc in place when there was a disc. Those little switches cause more problems. I'm going to release this little circuit board here. We'll clean these switches, and then I'm going to put the unit kind of back together, put the shielding in place, and run it and see whether it acts up. The guy that owns this unit, to say he bought it off of, I think he said he got it off Craigslist or one of those sites, and he's since bought another TV. He bought it used and it didn't work right. Oh, there's 3 switches on here, so we're going to clean all these switches, because these type of switches that we see, these give lots and lots of problems. So I'm just going to get some Neutral and we'll spray it into the switches here, and then give this DVD player another test, because this certainly could have been causing the problems with the disc not working. I should have put my rubber gloves on for this. Now I got fuel oil all over me. Diesel. That's what this stuff smells like. It smells like diesel oil. So don't be going spraying this around your ammonium nitrate fertilizer. I'm just going to clean up that excess overspray. It's called the Teeny Turner. Wonder what Tina has to say about that. Get it? Tina Turner, the singer. Teeny Turner, the screwdriver.
Wah, wah, wah.
This time I'm going to put the shielding in place so that I can let the temperature build up and see if I have another failure once it gets hot. So all the shielding is going to be put in place. I'm going to mount the DVD player. I'm not going to put the back on the set initially, but I'm going to mount all the other shields in place, which will allow the heat to build up in this thing to see whether we have any problems when it heats up. So I got this unit back together, got all the shielding on. I'm just going to let it run like that, sitting on its back, let it heat up, and we'll see whether this thing acts up again once it gets hot. If it continues to operate like this, I'll actually put the back on it, let it get up to full temperature. I have tightened down a few of the grounds, and I say we clean those switches on the DVD player. They could be causing the trouble too, because they signal whether there's a disc being put into the unit or not to switch it over. So the little switches on that DVD drive certainly could have contributed to problems. Also, the switches on the top here, if they get stuck or get any corrosion on them or anything, they can short out and cause weird problems. But say this thing definitely did act up initially. It wouldn't change inputs. It wouldn't let me change any of the inputs, and the disc got stuck in it. So it's we'll see. We'll let it run.
Sure, we appreciate your time.
So
Thank you very much.
TV's still working. Let's plop a disc into this thing.
We joined by NDP leader Jagmeet
See whether it still plays. It's been sitting here running for the last hour or so, I guess. Let's see how the DVD player works now. And if it works, I'm going to throw it together and we'll do some more testing with it all together. Looks like it's working. So there it is.
Somewhere in this city is the
Unit's all back together now. I'm going to let this thing run for a while. Back and everything's on. I'm going to let this thing run and we'll see how well it performs. I'm going to switch this back. Been watching this for hours. Started watching this series again. It's pretty funny. Tame by today's standards, but still funny as hell. It was Mel Brooks wrote, a brilliant writer. Let's switch this back to HDMI. Make sure it switches. There we go. Turn on my TV box.
She will be America's first female vice president. Jennifer Johnson, Global News,
there we go.
Washington.
Okay, this one's back together. Everything seems to be working on it.
Milestone in the COVID-19
sounds fine to me for the sound. So that was the complaint, was the DVD player wasn't working and it had bad sound, but sound sounds normal to me for small speakers like this. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon. Bye for now.